Hi friends, it's Harpreet Singh. It has been quite a long time. I think we have seen each other, obviously because of pandemic. But let's start, I think, again, our journey of just getting educated about the laws and different protection you get from the system to protect your lives. And also either it's on work side or it's on personal side or just protecting your assets. So today I want to talk about uh, one of the protection which I think very few people knows about, or even if they know, they don't have, I think, a good grasp of it, so that they can take advantage of those provision. It's to protect your residence, your primary residence, you can call it, or your home. So there are certain protection provided by California Constitution, which is said as homestead exemptions. So you have probably heard of homestead, probably you have seen, I think on your property tax statement, there is like $7,000 homestead exemption which you are getting. But I'm not talking about your property tax today. That's also like kind of similar provision in property taxes, but I'm just talking about in terms of your equity, because obviously you just purchase a house, you live in that house for longer periods of time, and over the time you just build equity, because that has been like kind of an American dream. You just invest in yourself while living at that house. You're also creating that nest which you can use in your retirement, or when your body doesn't allow you to work more. So these homestead exemptions, these are very, I think, effective. And the I will just in few moments I will just tell you the purpose of it, and also how much is the amount, and what protections you get. So the homestead, as it sounds, it's for primary residence homes. So there are like couple of factors which is look into to get these protections. You need to be the homestead would need to be on your primary resident, that you are continuing to live in that property, which you can call it as your primary residence, or a relative is living at that particular property. If you have provided, I think, that property for rent, so that would not qualify, because you are not living. And the main purpose of having these protection, to protect the equity of your home, it's obviously so that people who are spending, I think, so much money and just living in their property can live there and just have a happy life. So rental properties, commercial properties, that's not the main purpose of homestead protections. So you should need a continuous residence in that house. And I will just tell you about the moment you will have like a forced sale, and we will just talk in a moment about forced sale. But the main factor would be a continuous residence when we are talking, or when we want to take advantage of that protection. So the second thing is that, and you also intend to reside at that particular property. That means you intend to continue it as a primary residence. So these are only two basic factors, and courts usually looked liberally whenever they have to qualify certain persons, individuals, for these protections. So the courts just look overall situation. Even if, suppose, you don't have complete ownership of that property, your spouse has it, a separate property, even in that situation, the protection can be offered, because it's just liberally construed. So let's move forward in terms of protection. So what basically you get? You get a protection against, mostly, which have been the purpose, it's for the judgment liens and involuntary judgment lien, because obviously it not applies on voluntary liens. Voluntary liens means your mortgage, your deed of trust, the liens which yourself you have approved or provided consent. Obviously you just got money from some lender and you provided a deed of trust, and it's recorded, it's lien against your house, or any other liens in similar to that. And in addition to that, obviously you have to think about federal government. So any federal liens, those are not, I think, exempt through this homestead. And also the child support, spousal support liens, if unfortunately you are in that situation, so that needs to be paid. So there's no protection against those kind of things. And another thing is about the liens which is already recorded, and we will talk about that and you will understand what I'm talking about. So these are some of the exceptions to this homestead exemption. So what are the amounts you get the protections on? So you can get, for a single person, if suppose a single person is residing and it's their primary residence, so you get $75,000 of protection on your equity. And if you have a family unit living in that homestead, because for a house we will call it as a homestead, so that's $100,000. But it has recently been increased. A law has been passed recently, just about like 3 days ago. So governor has increased those amounts. But obviously you can get the idea. It's just near about those amounts. It will change after every 3 years based on CPI index, consumer price index. But still, those are, I think, the basic amounts. And it will obviously will change over time. And the another set of protection, it's for $175,000 for people who are above 65 and or people who are above 55 years old or they are low income. And the another protection, the set of people who can get $175,000 equity protection is the people who are physically or mentally disabled. So these are protection amount, and it has recently changed. So it has recently increased. So obviously, so you now get more protection. So the next topic in that I want to touch base, it's the type of exemptions. So now you were thinking, okay, how I can get this exemptions on my equity or a protection against judgment liens. So just remember, these are only protection against the judgment lien. And the judgment lien I will just talk about. It's basically any judgment against you provided by the court. Why it has been provided this protection? Because you provide, I think, a lien to a lender where you already know that lien exists, and you yourself provided consent. But in this so much litigious society, as you know, there are like several instances you can come across. People have some discomfort with you, with your business, or maybe some family member has discomfort with you. Everyone thinks about, okay, in order to I think get rid of this discomfort, everyone thinks about, okay, filing a lawsuit for something. Means for any kind of emotional outrage, people just think about lawsuit, because our society is being over the time being more litigious. So everybody is thinking about just bringing some kind of lawsuit or to get some kind of protection from the law, or try to get a good feel out of that situation through law. Obviously people have all the right of it, but sometimes people just trying to, I think, corner you, just using the law in bad faith. And there can be different situation, or maybe you are in a situation where the evidence doesn't support you. I think the basic cases are just the normal debt collector case. You have this debt of 10,000 or 20,000 from credit card companies or from some personal loan, and you cannot pay it. And these guys, these companies, they just got a judgment from the court, and now obviously they just want their money, and now they are looking for asset. And one of the biggest asset you have is your primary residence. So they will try to find your primary residence. Obviously they know where you live, and it's easy to find your assets, especially real estate. Everyone can search it. So they just found that, and they have just mentioned, I think, to their clerks that why not we just put an abstract of judgment, which is basically getting money judgment court order and converting it to a lien on your property. So in such a situation, they can file an abstract of judgment in the county where the property is located. But still, even if they have that, how a homestead exemption will protect your equity? In terms of protecting your equity, first of all, there is one type of homestead exemption which is called statutory exemption, which is also, there are different names. It's statutory homestead, statutory exemption, or protection you can call it. So this is an automatic protection. So for the amounts which we have discussed, which is recently increased, either 75,000 based on if you're single, or 100,000 or 175,000. So statutory homestead is automatic. You don't have to do anything. Obviously, the condition you have to meet that it's a continuous residence of yours and you intend to reside even after this particular situation, which just or this lien have attached to your property. So a statutory exemption will protect you if suppose that judgment lien is recorded, which is an involuntary lien, is recorded on your property through an abstract of judgment, and obviously the creditor wants to sell your house now to recoup the money. If suppose your house doesn't support the voluntary liens, like if you have a loan on your property which is a voluntary, you yourself have provided that lien, which is suppose in an amount of 200,000, your house is about 250,000. Now you have this 200,000, and now you have this, if suppose the judgment lien is about 100,000. So in that situation, you can think only 50,000 is left after paying the amount of the voluntary lien. So in that situation, the statutory lien will protect, the statutory homestead will protect your equity because your $50,000 is only left. However, you have to understand, the judgment creditor can always do a forced sale. And in this example where we have a $250,000 house, $200,000 is voluntary lien, which will be paid off. Now only 50,000 is left, and you are, suppose you are a family unit. So your protection, which is again, it has been increased, but suppose it's $100,000. So now you only have left $50,000. So that whole $50,000, even in a forced sale, is protected for 6 months time frame. So you have to understand it's for 6 months. So for 6 months time frame, the judgment creditor cannot touch it. So in such a situation, obviously means now there is a forced sale, you don't have any house to live. You just think about to use this $50,000 to buy another home. So if another home is your primary residence, that home is again like protected. So your $50,000 is again protected. Obviously, if there is a change in equity, there is too much equity in the house, there is a forced sale, unfortunately in that situation, other than the equity amount, if there is anything above the voluntary lien plus equity amount, plus the statutory homestead exemption amounts, if there is anything left over that, the the judgment creditor can get that. But this is an automatic protection, so you don't have to do anything. So you can understand what the law provides you. So let's move forward for the next exemption type. It's called the declared homestead. In declared homestead situation, and I will just go briefly, I think I can segment it out in different videos. There's a lot of details. So in a declared homestead situation where you file a declaration in county mentioning certain things, it's basically you are just declaring it as a homestead, this particular property, and you're just living there. In next video, I will discuss specifics about what you need to include in that declaration. So you just file a declaration, declare it as this property as a homestead. What advantage you get because you are just doing this whole lot of stuff, just kind of filing a document in a county, so you get additional protections. So you get additional protection in terms of, if suppose in our same example, $250,000 house, you already have $200,000 on that, and the statutory or the homestead amount is about $100,000 for family unit. That judgment creditor cannot even attach to your homestead that lien, because in a statutory homestead, he or she can, or an entity can attach it. But however, if you just declared it as a homestead by filing declaration, even that attachment cannot work out in favor of the creditor, because there is no attachment, there is no lien. However, in a situation, if suppose there is already a judgment creditor lien, which is involuntary, you just lost a court case, he or she files that lien on your house, then you file it declared homestead. After that point, still means the person or the entity can force a sale in. But in that situation, for that involuntary lien, a forced sale obviously cannot happen if there is not enough amount left. However, additional protection you get if you do a voluntary sale, if you want to sell your house. In that situation, the statutory homestead, like the automatic homestead, will not protect your homestead amount. Only if you have filed a declaration, the declared homestead type will protect your equity in a voluntary sale. You just want to sell your house, there is already a voluntary lien of a deed of trust is there, and also a judgment lien is there on your house. You want to still sell it. So all the voluntary liens, obviously you have to pay those. There is no, I think, protection on those. But the involuntary lien, which was this judgment lien, you can get the protection even in a voluntary sale if you have a declared homestead. So these are the types of homestead. Obviously, I think there is a lot of stuff I like to cover in that. And in the next video, I will just segment it out so you get the more details about it. So these are the homestead protections you can get. And obviously, just think about that. Just think about if you have filed the declaration or declared your home as a homestead to get this additional protections. Again, thank you for just following these videos and just looking and providing the comments or appreciation or any kind of feedback you can provide me in terms of bringing more videos so I can share a lot of legal knowledge with you, which may improve your life in some way or another. That's the aim. So thank you again, and I will look forward for the new videos. Thank you.